He's like, amateur. And she's like, no, for real. He's like really bad. Hello and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. My name, it's hard to see out of this mask, is Josh Fujita Michaels. And today, as always, I am joined by...
Megan Ebisu Fareed.
Cody Cross-Eyed Guy Decker.
You can't even say sorcerer or anything, dude.
Are they sorcerers?
We're trying so hard over here. Me and Megan are in full cosplay and you got little fucking red marks on your face.
Red crosses. Because I'm some sort of Red Cross guy.
It's the sorcerer look.
Sorcerer. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're only listening to this, then you're really missing out because me and Megan are decked out in cosplay, Ebisu cosplay and Fujita cosplay. This mask is painful.
I'm always decked out because my name is Decker.
Okay, moving right along. This mask hurts, and I don't know how long I can keep it on. But today, thank you for tuning in because we are going to be reviewing / discussing Volume 1 of Dorohedoro, which is a series that we have talked about in the past, but only in its anime adaptation form. We've never read the manga, never discussed the manga. So here we are to do that based on a community poll that we put out a few weeks ago or about a week ago. It won, Dorohedoro won in a landslide.
We got a lot of comments saying to do it too, so.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna take this off now. We got to the beginning, so I'm gonna cut back to you guys. Cody, make them laugh or something, dude, while I take this off.
Josh wanted us to read and watch the anime many moons ago, back in our audio days. Me and Megan just, we didn't. It seemed really interesting.
Yeah, we saw. There's an episode. There's a video on YouTube that we kind of dropped the bomb where we're like, we didn't watch it.
Yeah, dude. Everybody wants to talk about the Chainsaw Man episode and how I didn't read what I was supposed to read for the first one, but nobody talks about Megan and Cody not watching Dorohedoro.
Well, I didn't go on to list Dorohedoro as my favorite manga.
Well, now that we have read it, Cody, what are some of your thoughts, dude? First of all, if you haven't read or seen Dorohedoro, we'll give you a brief synopsis. It's a series that is about Kaiman and his friend Nikaido. They live in a place called The Hole, and it's a place where sorcerers come from their world into The Hole to practice on its citizens. And Kaiman, who is a lizard man, does not know why he is that way. And the first sort of volume, and I think especially the first season of the anime, is dealing with him trying to figure that out. But now that you guys have watched and read, what are some of your thoughts on the series?
The art, especially the art, is just a little bit better in the manga. I like how grittier it is.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts.
Really?
Of comparison to, because people in the comments and also people in our Discord were just talking about how the anime butchered it and it was totally something different, and I totally know where they're coming from, but this is the prime example of the anime just completely kind of taking it in a different direction. Not necessarily bad, but it's just different.
I thought it was pretty much, story-wise.
No, yeah.
It was beat for beat.
Yeah.
It's how the art in the manga is that grittier, more handwritten. It just feels more of someone did this. I don't know. It feels more drawn.
Absolutely.
To me.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the anime felt. The animation felt like the animated version of how the drawing is different in the manga.
Yeah, dude, it's the art style lends itself obviously to sort of the whole aesthetic of The Whole, and in its sketchiness and everything, it just it makes the world feel grittier, it feels dirtier, and everything in this world feels dirty.
Yeah,
but I like it though.
Magic punk.
Yeah.
Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Sorcerer punk.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, the art style, speaking of the art style, Kaiman looks so different too, which is something I really was not expecting. Now, having seen the anime first,
looks friendlier in the anime.
Does look way friendlier in the anime.
That's the whole vibe. It has completely different vibes for me. Story by story, beat by beat, perfect. But the vibes are way more goofier, way more like he seems more like of this like goofy kind of lizard man, and in the manga I did not really get that vibe. He was more like, I'm gonna find out who fucking did this.
You know what?
Felt more serious.
Totally. Him and Nikaido both like
seemed colder,
and just like the jokes that they land is not. It's not as like slapstick, and the music it's like dunk, 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 and it's like it's a lot more fun in the anime versus colorful even. Like I wouldn't think that they would adapt it like that. I thought it'd be like dark and like spooky.
There is the one scene that still does hit harder in the anime, just in like being like, oh, that's so brutal and disgusting. It hit me harder watching it in the anime versus reading it in the manga. I think the anime like drags on it a little more.
You look at other anime series too that have done this type of animation, right? Which, by the way, is by Mappa Studios. Which Mappa, chill out, dude.
Mappa,
okay, come talk to Mappa. Chill out, dude. They got too much on their plate right now. They're doing Attack on Titan. They're doing Dorohedoro, which apparently has, even though there's no official release date, has been they've announced or said that they are going to be doing Dorohedoro season 2. So that on top of Jujutsu Kaisen, on top of Chainsaw Man, like, you're gonna burn out. I need you to be giving, all the love to Chainsaw Man.
And that's like the issue too with just the overproduction of anime at the moment. Because I saw this like chart and it was so crazy. It was like from like 2006 or whatever to now, and the amount of shows that are coming out in each season, it's like preposterous. I mean, insane.
Yeah. I wonder if, because something that happens with video games, like if a studio is like, oh, we're making this series, and this series, they inevitably just have, well, this is our B team, this is our C team.
Yeah.
And what you end up getting is like, well, they just announced that the worst people in their company will be working on making this game.
And you're like, cool.
Yeah. And they're like, well, our A team will be focusing on this. So you're telling me right now you're going to put effort into this, and you're just going to see if that team can handle this game.
Yeah.
Which I do think, look, as much as I really love Dorohedoro, I do think that hopefully, again, with their sort of animation style that they've chose for that show, it'll be a little easier for them. It's still going to be very hard and take a lot of work, but they use a 3D style a lot in Dorohedoro, which never seems to work, right?
I think it worked for this anime.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I agree. People disagree, but like I said in the other video that we did, like Beastars really opened my mind to that style because it's just done so well. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if they would have, if it wasn't done like this, it was just a little bit worse.
Yeah,
it would be bad.
Yeah, what I will say is that it for sure works. I think, it's seamless, and sometimes you can tell it looks a little janky.
The fight scenes aren't as fluid as you can tell they are in the
manga. Yeah.
It's sort of like it's animated like a manga in that we're just skipping those animations and cut straight to the punch.
If I had one gripe though, one nitpick, it would be that I think the 3D style does take away from the grittiness a little bit. Mm-hmm. If it was hand drawn, I think it would convey that a lot better.
And that's what sucks is like, because this is so like I'm sure I'm not using the right terms, but it looks so much more hand drawn, even though they're all hand drawn. But so like when they have the anime like not even just not be animated but be CGI, it's like you went in like the opposite direction of the art. Like I don't have a problem with it, but I don't really have that much of an eye for art in the first place.
Like I mean, we could go into like anime versus manga towards the end because I just have a lot of thoughts on it. But what did you think? Like what did you like? What would you prefer? Like the reading or watching the anime already? Like because I can't even compare the two. Like honestly, like it's such a different feel. Like.
I think you nailed it, right? I think that although it is a beat-for-beat adaptation for the most part, especially based on Volume 1, what I think you do lose is a little bit of the tone. But I think for the most part, I gotta say I would recommend reading the manga overall. Even though the anime was a very enjoyable experience, but like you said, it did feel different.
I mean, you only have to look at the first page of the manga to see what the difference is between the art of the manga versus anime.
I mean, I wrote it down. Like, I don't know if me reading it would have made me want to continue to read it because I do like it, and I did enjoy reading it versus like watching it. But had I just read it and never watched the anime, I probably would not have continued it. Not in a bad way.
What are some reasons though?
I couldn't nail it on the head because it's the vibes. I don't know.
Also, it doesn't end on which I think you said in the anime, like it sort of just like the first season sort of just like ends on a note.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt. Like it didn't feel like I was hooked on the story later on, but it was like, oh wow, yeah, if I ended the first volume on that note, I'd be like, oh, like it didn't end on like a what's gonna happen next. It's sort of like, and now, read the second volume and the story will keep going.
Yeah, and it ended at chapter 40 in the first season, and like someone said the reason for that is because more characters are introduced later in the manga, and then the second season will probably like look into that. But I don't know, the anime is kind of more my speed. You know me, I'm very it's fun to watch and ingest. This is more of like, okay, it's darker themes.
It's super
too
dark.
different. It's like I can't compare them. I can't say that I disliked either of them, but it's just totally different, which is like odd because usually they're pretty spot on, like, but I'd rather them do what they did versus like change the story or like cut things out because it jumped around a lot. Like there was scenes that didn't match up, but they still showed them, which is like, yes, like we don't care if you jump around, just show the fucking scenes that are in the manga. Like,
we watched a couple, I think the first 2 episodes before we even sat down to record, and I was really amazed. And if that's what I'm having to choose between, like, hey, you're going to get this sort of animation style, but it's going to be beat for beat, or you can get it super gritty, super faithful to the art style, but we're going to take a couple liberties elsewhere. I'd rather have what we have now than the other option.
Exactly.
So let's go through it a little bit because I want to know what stood out to you guys this time around.
This had one of the greatest like intros.
Yes.
Like because I was really thinking like if you just like pulled this off the shelf and you opened it to page 1, you're like,
oh,
I think it like I don't think it ends on a good note to like hook you, but it starts on a very good note.
Yeah, super high. You're like, oh, what's going on
immediately?
here?
Like I want people to read this and take notes if they want to be a storyteller or a writer. Immediately, I'm hooked. Right away, I have this like lizard man who's biting someone's head. There's a man inside of him. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who the guy is. It's just like, and that's all in like the first couple of pages. I'm like, what is this story? I need more immediately. But you're right. It does kind of lose that as the story goes
And we
on
love a female mangaka.
Yes. Yes. Dude.
Fucking dope.
Yes. She's amazing. And I think her ability to write interesting like side characters too, or quote unquote villains, because they don't even really feel like villains, are like the Shin and Noe, they don't feel like villains, dude. There's like 2 factions or whatever, but like everyone gets like enough depth for me to be those people aren't pure monsters. Those people aren't pure good. It was nice to have that complexity. And the thing I would compare this to is the book Heroes Die. I'm sorry, but everything comes back to Heroes Die
because that's what that author went in wanting to do, was sort of like not do the traditional. This is a good guy. This is a villain. He has it where the villain's like end goal would be a net positive for the world, but it's and like he knows that like, well, I have to do these things, and like every character, even the evilest person is working for good. So you don't want that villain to be alive, but if he does, it'll be better for the world. So like this reminded me a lot of the complexities that every character gets, where there's not like, I really went in expecting, okay, so those are the thugs that'll get killed off early. It's like, oh, they've got like a code of honor, and they like, they're skillful, and they're like nice, and they're like friendly, and it was really surprising.
Yeah, the world feels like very thought out and fleshed out, because you have like, even though it seems kind of chaotic and random and wacky, it's they have ceremonies and things that they do, and they have every part of the world seems thought out to a certain extent, for sure.
Manga's usually in black and white.
Yeah.
But these character dynamics are not black and white. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't that cut and dry.
It ain't that cut and dry in the hole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the hole does kind of remind me of just a Hot Topic, in a lot of ways. It seems like it would smell like a Hot Topic when you walked in there.
Hot Topic's not even Hot Topic.
That's a good point. But I'm talking about Prime back
in the day. Hot Topic.
I used to be scared of Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Really?
Seriously, it was like a scary place.
Yeah. Wow. Your dad's
looked like you were going in the gates of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did look like that a lot.
It really did. And you're like, whoa. I was only like, I don't know, I was young when that was like the case, and then they changed it. But like, I remember being like, okay.
Yeah.
The devil's
it'd be
gonna sign
dark,
a contract in
They'd
there.
have fog machines playing. They'd have like
Loved it.
scary
Dude, I
like
loved
figures. They sell now. It is like they would sell like Chucky dolls. I'm like, no, not Chucky. And now it's Funko Pops.
Yeah, no, it's completely changed.
They had action figures from horror movies, like real ones, and you'd be like, oh my god, that horrible monster. And now it's like
Pop culture.
Here's him with a bobblehead.
Yeah. Anime section throughout the half of the store. Like, it's not what it used to be at all. It's
you guys saw what I looked like. I had, my
Oh,
hair
God.
dyed black, and I was living in Hot Topic.
Yeah.
You
You
that
still
was
are,
my
kind of.
kind of.
Yeah. But I still have. Yeah, that was my childhood as well.
Yeah. So we're introduced to Kaiman, Nikaido, Fujita, and Matsumura, I think, is his friend who immediately, R.I.P. Matsumura, gets sliced up by Kaiman.
Because what Kaiman does, and this is one of those things where if you explain to someone the premise, I don't see how they're not interested.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah,
Which
should we
is-
sing? Should we sing? Should
I
we
mean, we
sing
can.
the synopsis? Should I say the synopsis? Because
I mean, I give a little brief one up top, but if you want, do you have the official one? Or is
Yeah,
that
Or
just
do you
the-
think he did
yeah.
a garbage job?
No.
Are you saying I did a bad job?
No, it's not that.
Right, Megan?
Just
Yeah,
read it.
It's not that. It's
Just
just to give more of a clarification of the whole story. An amnesiac reptilian-headed Kaiman working together with his friend Nikaido to recover his memories and survive in a strange and violent world.
And this manga opens on him doing that, and the way his investigation works
The classic way that people investigate people.
is he bites the head of a sorcerer when he finds them, and then a man comes out of his throat and says, "You're not the one." And then he goes, "What'd the guy say?" He's like, "Oh, he said I'm not the one." And then he's like, "Well, then I don't need you alive."
Yeah.
You are not the one.
And he doesn't know what the guy inside of him is saying.
Because
can't
he has to
communicate
ask
with
them.
that guy.
Yeah. He's like, "What'd he say?"
Which, from a writing standpoint, is so cool because it allows for more mystery. If he knew what the guy said, then it wouldn't matter if they, which was something that we see happen later. It wouldn't matter if they got away or if it wouldn't matter if they escaped. But he needs to ask them the question after, and if he doesn't, then he's sort of like, okay, well, I don't know. I have nothing to go on.
And he's like, he has an alligator head, maybe crocodile.
Maybe lizard, dude.
Well, I mean, his name's Kaiman.
Kaiman.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah.
But outside of like that giving him sharp teeth and like having this like weird portal mouth, he's not like he's still like a guy.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, he's a guy. He's a guy, all right.
Right.
my spray bottle. So like, but his thing is like some weird thing because of that gator head means he's immune to magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he has, well, I don't know if is that a spoiler?
I don't think it's a spoiler because another thing that I love about the mystery that it's set up in the beginning or the way the story just opens is that we're introduced to the world, the characters. We're introduced to the magic system, kind of. We're introduced to... I love how this story gets ahead of itself because... And it kind of predicts what you're probably thinking as far as maybe like plot holes or mystery, and it just kind of addresses them right away. Because very early on, I think it's either Nikaido or somebody else who says like... Or maybe it's the narration, and they say, like, Kaiman doesn't know if... Because immediately you want to think to yourself, that's Kaiman... The real Kaiman is in Kaiman, right?
Yeah.
But then they say pretty much right away that, like, we don't know if it's him. We don't know if it's the guy that did it to him. We don't know, and so they kind of pose all the questions instead of just having you focus on one possibility. And they do that kind of multiple times, even when we do meet Ebisu later. They kind of do that again, and I really like the way everything is presented here. It's really well done.
Yeah, the writing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, she, like mangaka usually write the stories. She's just like banger after banger. Like, it's really, really well done. Like, both in the anime and the manga. I mean, I can't.
Kaiman's partner, she gets like a bunch of like fight scenes. All the fight scenes are very well done. And they're very like he's not just slicing a finger off because that'll look cool. They're aware that like these are things you have to do when you're fighting sorcerers.
Yeah, and in the manga they do have a little bit of fun with the gore at a certain point, which we're going to talk about, and that is it's over the top, but I'm like I like that. I like that.
I like that shit.
I like that. I'm gonna commit to it.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, dude, it's so over the top and funny that you can't not like it.
Yeah.
So Kaiman and Nikaido are fighting Fujita and Matsumura. Matsumura gets eaten by Kaiman. The guy inside Kaiman says, "You're not the one." And then right as one of Matsumura's severed hands, is flying through the air, he's still able to release a little bit of magic that opens a door, or creates a door that opens to send Fujita back to the sorcerer's world. And Fujita gets away. Fujita, by the way, becomes one of my favorite characters just because he's so, like, he's terrible at, like, he's not terrible. He's so mediocre just across the board. He's not like really bad, but he's not really good in this world of like really strong people. He's just sort of coasting, you know? And he's trying really hard to like be better.
That's why it's interesting that like he's also apparently in a very close friendly relationship with like the most powerful person in the world.
Yeah, I think he just like pities him a little bit.
I don't know. There were some things too, and when we get to the bug scene later, there are some things that I do have sort of questions about, like why certain people reacted to certain situations. And that's one of them with Fujita. Like, how is he so mediocre and so close to this guy at the same time? Is it just because he came across Kaiman and Nikaido? But it seems like their relationship has already been established. It seems like this guy has an open door policy, this mushroom guy.
Yeah, he does, definitely. He's just like, okay, like I'm coming up to you, telling you what the situation is, and he's like,
yeah, and also like what the sorcerers are doing in this world. It's like there's people in a sorcerer world, and they go to just this city. Like I don't know what goes on beyond that city. I don't know if they're just like this will do, but they just go there to experiment on people. Yeah. So it is sort of like well, yeah, I have no sympathy for any of the sorcerers. Yeah. Because you see how like that's not even fun. It's not even quirky. It is like they have ruined that person's life.
Yeah, and they even call it practice. Like they themselves call it practice, and we see another person modified or transmutated partially later on, and the way the doctor's describing what's happening, it's like, oh yeah, because he has an insect arm here now, the blood has clotted here, and he's like convulsing, and it's like, yeah, fuck these sorcerers.
Yeah, the sorcerer is just really like, or just like, this is the way it is. We just go here, and they deserve this type of treatment. Yeah, because even what's his Mushroom Man?
Oh yeah, N.
Yeah, he's just like, those filthy people in the hole. They deserve what they get, and we do this for a reason. And it's just like, oh,
yeah. I mean, what are they even training for? Huh? To be just like stronger sorcerers, or do they have some
bugs?
sort of?
I don't know what the end goal is here. Like you're just making.
It sounded like you said what the end goal is. Like the mushroom guy.
Yeah. I was like, huh?
Yeah, pretend like you said it on purpose.
Yeah, I did say it on purpose. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's like because you can back to that book comparison, but it is like, well, that is another world, so it's not like it's real.
Yeah,
I mean, you're like, you can see how they can be like, well, it's not like we're experimenting on our own people.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows what's going on? Who cares?
Yeah, who cares, dude? I close that door, dude. That world disappears behind me.
Yeah.
And that's a lot like, how a lot of people live their lives, dude. They're afraid to open doors and see, kind of what's behind them.
I hate closing doors.
Oh, we know.
It's an inside
we
joke.
do. It's an inside
so
joke.
Stupid.
And we all know. So after Fujita escapes, we see him at Matsumura's funeral. And again, this is like, okay, what I like about storytelling like this is everything is thought out. If an alien were to come down and they were to see us and how we have funerals and how we, treat our dead, I'm sure, having no context of our culture, they'd think to themselves like, that's fucking weird, dude. They put that body in a box and then they have people wear white gloves and carry it up a hill, and what I mean?
There's so many pieces of land that are just dedicated to dead bodies.
Yeah. And why doves? Like, why are they releasing birds? You know what I mean? I'm sure there's so many things that they would question. I say that because I feel like an alien looking into another culture, into another world when I see this funeral.
And what I like is it because like reading that, they're like, oh, drop the egg in the thing and hope, make your wish that they get revived. I'm sort of like, okay. Yeah, like, it's also like that. That is so wild, but I'm like, oh, so that's what they do.
Yeah, and it's just so well done that you just don't even question their like just the world in general. You're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't
because it's so insane.
It's not a scene of someone explaining like, as you know, the way magic funerals work is we do this, and this,
which I like.
Yeah, it's like, all right, drop your egg. Okay, goodbye. I'm like, oh, so they drop eggs when they. All right,
yeah,
sure.
And Fujita has his little funeral shoes on, his little clown shoes on, and that's their garb. I mean, like I said, that's what makes it feel thought out.
Yeah, what I like how talking about the masks, is that spoiler? Okay, because what I like is like their masks look like monstrous, like things that you would hear in like fairy tale monsters. So like I like the idea that like people would because I thought they were monsters at first with the way they're. But then it's like, oh, it's just a mask. But if you don't see them take their mask off, which they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
You would be like, oh my God, these are like gremlin demons.
Yeah. Yeah, everything feels so like gothic.
Yeah.
It's not typically how you would picture, I guess, a sorcerer's sort of society. Even down to like their brooms and everything, it emits the same sort of smoke that their magic does. Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys caught this, but in one of the panels when they're riding away on a broom, the broom is made by Honda. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Funny.
Yeah. No wonder it's pumping out so much smoke. Am I right, guys?
Hondas aren't.
Okay.
If it was a Volkswagen, or
all right. I'm just saying
a diesel engine.
Just trying to make a joke, but
I mean, you can make it sure, but you said it, but it didn't make sense.
You're right, and that's what you. Thank you for keeping me honest, Cody. I really appreciate it.
Because I will be damned if I let you shit talk the emission quality of Honda.
I have a Honda too, dude.
I will be damned.
You have a Honda too, right?
No, I have a Nissan.
Yikes.
I have a Nissan.
You do.
Oh, you should. You could like replace.
You could replace it on your car.
We'll go to the scrapyard. I'll get you some.
I don't want to go to a scrapyard.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you'd have fun.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I
I find Magic the Gathering. I find weed in trunks a lot. So.
Oh, she would. Have fun.
I would
she
like
would
it now.
Yeah, she would like
because
it.
again,
like
these
now.
are cars that like they got into an accident. They were just towed there. So like a lot of people, they don't check for things, and I found
maybe you find yourself a couple manga in the scrapyard too.
Yeah, maybe. I want to jump on the cars.
You can. You can just smash windows.
People should go there to like release anger.
What do you?
Okay, moving on. Jesus Christ! I saw the anger reignite.
Speaking of junkyards, junkyard feel.
Yes.
Junkyard vibes, definitely.
Junkyard vibes.
Cody, I'm sure you appreciate that.
Yeah, did you like that? Did everything look like
Did
a
you like
scrapyard?
Did you like that, Cody?
Did you like that junkyard
like that,
vibe,
junkyard boy? I'm sorry. We'll move on.
Just invited you to go do a thing. That's
Cody,
all.
okay.
She really flipped it on you.
I did. I was just making a joke. I'll go with you sometime to find some
It's fine.
leftover weed and paraphernalia in the trunks of the cars. I think that sounds like a great day to spend.
Yeah, she's not going, dude. Anyway, so and then that's where we're introduced to N, who is a he's basically the caterpillar from what is it? Alice in Wonderland.
And he looks different in the manga for
Everybody
sure.
Everybody looks a little different.
Everyone a
Just
little
a
different.
Little bit grittier.
Yeah.
And I think Megan, you said it, is that everything looks a little like tame or like slightly turned down.
More like cartoony. It's definitely
Cleaner,
more cartoony.
friendlier.
Friendlier for sure. Like
But
it's definitely that.
What I think is kind of weird about it is that like maybe when you'd usually see that, it'd be like turned down by a lot. Here it's like if there was a dial and Dorohedoro's at a 10, they turned it down to like an 8. It's not way down, it's just like a little down, which is an interesting choice. But he looks way different. His hair is way longer and spikier. Yeah. And he does look way more menacing.
Everyone looks way more menacing. Everyone looks like they could like actually like do some damage. In the anime it's like the same way, but I feel like in the manga it's way more scary. Like the whole situation, all the situations are like more scary.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't want to be there. But here I'm like, the fun music. It's like, that's fun.
It's kind of like a Mos Eisley kind of vibe a little bit, Never mind. People watching and listening will get it.
Each
week.
Oh, God.
But yeah, he goes and he tells and what happened and gives him, creates with his magic a device that basically is has all the information on all the sorcerers and what they specialize in. And Fujita's able to find a reptilian
because he needs a new partner.
Sorcerer. Yes, because he needs to find a new partner for himself. And that person, that expert, is a sorcerer who we don't see their face yet. They're just wearing a skull mask, and their name is Ebisu. So Fujita sets off to find Ebisu. While that's happening, though, Kaiman and Nikaido Kaiman has a job at a hospital, which, I mean, Sure.
Why? Yeah. It's
You
like,
know?
I mean, did he get the job after he was turned, or did he already have
No,
the
he
job?
did. He said he got it after.
Yeah, because he's like, I want to help people that have been turned into.
I don't even think he wants to help people necessarily.
He
I
just
think
needs money.
No, I don't. I mean, yes, he does talk about
Which
needing money.
I do. I always like whenever they're just like, well, I do still have to pay rent. You know, it's very easy to just want to gloss over that.
Yeah.
In any story, it's like, oh, I don't know, they're an orphan, and anyway, they're going to become the Gaizu king, the Goiza king.
The Gaizu.
There we go. There we go.
Gyoza.
But yeah, I just like it. Like he needed a job, and this is like it's mostly manual labor.
But I think it also serves the purpose of getting him closer to, like, if anybody
answer.
were to come in and have something similar happen to them that he had happened to him, then he'd be one step closer to figuring out who did it. So he has his reasons for it. And Nikaido owns a restaurant. Nikaido, by the way, is such a unique and cool character. She's she's
dope.
she's a muscle mommy is what she is.
Muscle mommy.
Yeah.
I really like the body types in this manga. They're not traditional ones you'll usually see. Like the one because like Nikaido's good at fighting. Usually they'll look like a very slim person, but then they'll still be able to like shatter bones. I believe that Nikaido could shatter my bones.
Yeah.
It's like
You want her to, huh?
Yeah, you do. Are you kind of into that a little bit?
No. Having my bones shattered.
People are into weird shit, dude.
But I like that, like, you know, when someone is a fighter, they look like a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, same with Noe, who we meet later, too. Everybody. Believable.
Yeah.
That they could shatter bones and rip faces off. And speaking of ripping faces off, Nikaido actually, before that happens, before we get to that point, Nikaido actually has this like really interesting interaction with a sorcerer who is experimenting on people in the hole and turning them into bugs, which is
that's like the main like thing happening in the plot manga wise. We're like, oh, like this is like a lot of sorcerers aren't showing up in the city anymore.
yeah.
Because freaking
Because of
Kaiman
Kaiman,
and
yeah.
Nikaido, they're actually like hunting them down because he wants to find out, and they're like killing them. So she's like, "Oh, there's not a lot of sorcerers here anymore." I was like, "Yeah, because probably we're fucking killing them all.
Yeah.
Probably cautious and shit." Because if the word's getting around that like magic is not working on this lizard head guy, so they're like, "Well, without magic, we can't do shit."
Yeah.
So
yeah, and they've actually at a certain point locked the portals to the hole until they figure stuff out. Which again, I think it's just like I think the reason I like this moment so much is because it just like it perfectly sums up Fujita. Like perfectly. And it's the moment where he tells En once he gives him the device, he's like, "Don't worry, we're going to get him. I got a plan." And then he just shows up to the door with a gun.
I mean, come on. What else? He can't use magic on him of the second best thing. I mean, he's kind of smart.
I like how, like, I mean, it's not like that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because, Kaiman does use knives.
Yeah.
So it is like, what are we going to do? He seems like that's the most practical response.
You're right.
Would be to be like, I'm just going to shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but En is like, okay, you're a sorcerer, bro. Like, think of a better fucking
It's
thing
mostly
to do.
out of like pride that they don't let him do that.
Yeah, he's like,
It is
I wouldn't
funny,
let
though.
you do that to yourself, bro.
It is funny though that guns exist. They have access to
Yeah,
them
yeah.
and they probably would work, but he's like, absolutely not.
And it's funny that, like, I mean, the whole is such a big thing of what they do, like, to get credits for, you know, a max amount of practicing points, I guess. But it's just funny how they're just like, okay, we're gonna just cut this place off for a little bit. It's like they're like playground. Like, we're gonna figure some stuff out. Like, he's like a threat, but like a threat to like, okay, they can deal with it, I guess. But they don't, like, En is not going there to like actually do it himself. He's sending like someone else to do it, or not necessarily. But
yeah, and you know, En seems like, at least in the first volume and based on the first season of the anime, En feels like he's the boss of this world in a lot of ways. But then, you know, as that world gets a little bit bigger, he starts to feel more like a mob boss kind of, you know. And this
definitely.
is his crew. This is his gang.
He's just like a guy who has access to
money and
power, like a regular life. You know, those guys
like
are
the
monsters
real
too.
world. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Tripping on mushrooms too, I'll bet.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. He which is another weird power that this guy has, dude, to just turn people into
every sorcerer they have a thing. And his is mushrooms.
And he's the most powerful one we've seen so far. And it's funny too, because even the things he creates, like everything has to have a mushroom on it, or it has that mushroom buttons.
He only eats mushrooms.
But even him, dude, like he's you know, I believe him. I think he's an interesting character too. He's probably, out of all the characters we meet in Volume 1, the one that we get the least time with, the one that we get the least backstory with, but we do see sort of his power, and we do see how people react to him.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so she has an interesting. I got off track a little bit.
Yeah, it was just all the context of it, because they're like they've turned a bunch of people into bugs, and like incomplete jobs, and they have a very oddly casual attitude, I guess, because this happens so much that they're just like, we got another one. I know that's how it works in the medical field after a while. She I'm going back to work anyway, and she just sees like a guy's like, I'm so hungry, can I just have food? So yeah. And then this is like the only only writing issue I have with this volume, but it is there.
And I think you said it in the first video that we did, or the when you guys finally did watch it. You said it.
Hey, I had a good time.
Yeah, me too.
I had a Dorohedoro of a time.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Dorohedoro.
That is a little bit closer. A little bit closer.
Door goes my hero.
Oh my God!
There
dude.
goes my hero.
That was.
Yeah, I think it's worth repeating though, Cody, because you after you said it, it stood out to me, and it's such a good point. And it's this dialogue she has with this guy, which Megan, you said, first of all, the fact that the rules that we're told about this world are that sorcerers wear masks and people in the hole don't. They're either horribly disfigured because of the sorcerers, or they just look normal.
Or they do wear gas masks for unclear reasons to me.
Aesthetic.
Yeah. And so, as far as I know, no one who's just a citizen of the hole wears a mask, yet this hungry person outside of her shop is wearing a mask.
It looks more like a tattoo.
It is kind of dripping.
It's like a
It looks kind of like face paint, not necessarily a mask.
It
so
looks
it's
like
weird.
It's a domino style mask. The ones that, you know.
And we do find out later, even though it is rare, that there are sorcerers who do live in the hole and have kind of given up, or at least don't, necessarily follow the more traditional sorcerer way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she lets this guy in her restaurant and proceeds to tell him that there's a sorcerer running about that's doing a horrible job transmuting people into bugs. But the way she does it, like, she lays it on way too thick.
What a hack job. What a loser. I
What
would
a
love
fucking
to
pleb.
come face to face with that guy and tell him how much of a piece of shit loser
Just
he is.
give up,
Oh
man.
man,
Just
I
give
can't
up.
even imagine. It's hilarious how
It
much he
really
sucks.
bugs me.
Oh. Yeah, dude, it even feels like the conversation would hit a natural end and she keeps going.
Yeah.
She's almost like, yeah, there's a sorcerer running around, and he's turning people into bugs. What an amateur, am I right? And then he's like, amateur? And she's like, no, for real. He's
This
like
guy
really
sucks.
bad.
Yeah. And it's so funny because that's just usually probably like just the topic of conversation in the whole, like, what else are you gonna fucking talk about? How shitty your life is?
Yeah.
Oh, these sorcerers running around. It's like fucking COVID now. You're just like, oh
Yeah.
God, the precautions, I had it. It's like, okay, just talk about something. You can't talk about anything else.
Yeah, dude. And dude, watching it and reading it again, it's like Nikaido. Like, and then she keeps going. Like, I'm
it's
talking
funny.
real bad, this guy.
And he's taking his glove off being, oh, you think it was bad, huh? It's like the worst. I've never seen such a dumb, stupid guy.
Yeah, it's not even about the magic anymore. It's about him personally, which would have been funny if she knew. Because then I'd be like, that's fucking badass that she's just roasting him to his face that way. But she doesn't know. So she's like, yeah, he probably fucking smells like shit too, this guy. Dude, Jesus Christ.
I bet he pisses and shits himself all the time. The guy's like, is that what you think? Yeah. That's very funny that you would think that.
I don't think it. I'm like pretty positive. She's like
I know.
stirring the pot.
I know.
She's stirring the pot literally. And yeah. But he finds out, he gets pissed, and then he turns her, partially into a bug.
Which was genuinely disturbing.
Genuinely disturbing. And
Gross.
before you know the rules of the world, you kind of think, especially because of how the story opens too.
She's fucked.
She's fucked.
Yeah, she's fucked. There's nothing you can do.
You know, because a lot of times when that happens in a story, which it does, where someone will get, something will happen to them and they have to fix it. But for them to fix it, it's usually like a whole nother arc, or it's like a whole nother story. It's like now we gotta spend 3 volumes turning Nikaido back to normal. We gotta find a specialist, and we gotta find someone with similar magic to reverse it.
At the end, Kaiman will have to choose between curing himself or curing Nikaido.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. But not in this world.
No.
Because Kaiman shows up, and I love, dude, their relationship again is just so well portrayed. Immediately we get, because, a lot of times you're going to assume like, does Kaiman have a thing for Nikaido? Does Nikaido have a thing for Kaiman? But no, and Kaiman is, first of all, has no memories of his previous life, but also as Kaiman just is like, Nikaido's just the homie. She's
the homie that feeds me, which is
free
dope.
Food,
free food. It's just like this. We're like a, like the tag team. They're just like, she fights. I also throw knives and kill them and then ask my question. Like they have this dynamic where it's just like partners in crime, which is like not always the case in anime and manga. It's just like, okay, we get it. They're going to fucking end up together. And it's
because he walks in and he's like, the guy's like, just about to finish turning her into a bug. And he's like, Nikaido, you look terrible.
God damn it, Nikaido, this again.
Yeah. And he just kind of sits there and doesn't really get mad until he realizes that the sorcerer ate his gyoza, and then sort of springs into action. But it just lets you know that he's aware that like he knows that she fucked up. She knows that she fucked up. He also knows that she can probably take care of herself, and she doesn't always need to be saved. But there's just this moment where he's just like, you really let this guy get the best of you? I'll clean up your mess.
I just like how confident he is too, because he just knows like, oh, I can just handle these guys like they're regular fucking people. It's not like they can use their magic on me. If they can use the magic, then I might be fucked. But he's like,
as long as they don't bring a gun.
Yeah,
as long as they don't bring a gun, which would be a terrible idea.
Oh yeah, you know what they say.
What do they say, Megan?
Don't shoot the messenger.
Oh my god.
But what if the messenger has a gun? Yes, sir.
There we go. I like it. Yeah,
what if the sorcerer has a gun?
Megan's thinking about doing stand-up.
No, I'm not. Don't say that. Don't say that. One joke.
That's her opener.
And that's the opener and the closer.
Like to see her stand-up set.
Don't.
I will be running sound because I officially quit stand-up.
If you'd like to see a Volume 1 vlog of Megan's first comedy set.
Oh my god.
With the only caveat being she has to say that joke.
Only one. I'm gonna do it and then get off stage and that'll be it. But
it'll be avant-garde.
It'll be avant-garde.
Yes.
But just going back, he's like, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then you learn that once you kill the sorcerer.
Yeah, once you kill a sorcerer, which I'm upset about it.
I like it. It makes sense.
It makes
sense.
And
it helped to explain why he was so casual and not like,
because
it was sort of like, well, the solution's right here. It's not like I mean, yeah, she is like in pain and bleeding from the mouth. So I was like, I don't know if this is the time to be like all casual about it. But he was just like, if this isn't an issue anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh my God, we're running out of time. It's like this in 2 seconds, she'll be fine.
That's what I love about the series too. Everything's just casual. Yeah. Like everything just seems, that's why it seems so real, because there's just like, of course there's stakes, but there's always a solution, or maybe not in his case, but it's just like, okay, things can be undone if we just kill him.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's like the magic is tied to the user, connected to the user. It came from them. So when they die, their magic dies with them. And I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I had no problem with that at all.
No.
But yeah. And then they have this sort of interaction later, which again, Volume 1, how many episodes does it cover, by the way?
2.
Compared to the,
Yeah, 2.
And then the entire 12 episode season covers
40. Up to chapter
chapters.
40, which I don't know where, like what volume that would be.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty dense story, though. Because we haven't even met the other characters yet.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, just to kind of get there, we, I think after that whole thing happens, while Fujita is, his gun plan fails, and then he's, sent off to find Ebisu. And by the way, It's so funny in the anime too. When Kaiman gets the pictures of him, he had Nikaido take pictures down his throat to see if they could see the man down there. And it's just like when they get the pictures developed in the anime, you see the selfies of him like cross-eyed with his tongue out in his mouth
all
wide
blurry.
open.
It's like not a good picture, and they're like, oh. And again, that's just it's like I don't feel in the manga that the humor is more of like a dark humor where it's like, oh, these things are funny because they're so unbelievable and dark and gory. Whereas in the anime, it's like really trying to hit those comedic notes. Like the whole thing is very funny to me. Like just with the music and like just how they talk. Like
Kaiman constantly screaming
and
everything at the top of his
Kaiman
lungs.
is so much more goofier of a character in the anime versus the manga. Like I totally believe that he's just like this dark guy looking for like to kill people, and in the anime he's just like, I'm just killing people because I need to figure this shit out. Like it's not like he has like this like malice or like and the manga is like completely different. So that was pretty different, a cool little take on it. You can't compare the two. It's so different. It's weird.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, dude. And so when Fujita does finally find Ebisu, or he remembers, like, I passed that sorcerer in the hole.
I passed him in the hole.
Yeah, I passed him in the hole. I'm going to go find him. Even though everything's sort of locked up, I'm going to have to get through somehow. And it's at this time that Kaiman finds Ebisu and Nikaido, and they take his mask off, and it's revealed that he is a she.
And that is also completely different.
Yeah.
In the manga, he barely hesitates. Like, he just goes, oh, okay.
It was more like, oh, I thought you were a guy.
That's it. And then in the enemy's like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, I don't know. And then he's like, okay.
They stress more of like, look how terrified she is. And it's still like, well, she was there to torture and ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's the manga was way better because he wasn't like, oh my god, is it okay if I
this
kill
young
a
girl? Yeah, this young girl that is so she's so tiny, and he's just like, oh, I don't know what I should do. But
I do remember that was one of the points I had in the first episode, which was that there was like, why was there? I just thought it was weird that there was so much hesitation, and they did make a comedic moment out of it where it's like, what do we do now?
It's like, are there not a lot of women sorcerers?
Yeah.
He's just used to killing dudes and stuff, so maybe that's why. But in the manga, it was like, oh, he just like literally throws one line out and then just bites her fucking head. Like it's not that big of a deal.
And another small, but I think somehow really important part or change was that in the anime, when Ebisu is in his mouth, the person inside of him says, every time he sees someone, he says, you are, and then either, whether it's like the one or not the one, right?
Usually not the one.
Right. Usually not the one.
We've only seen it be not the one.
Right.
We've only seen it be not the one.
The assumption is eventually he will say you are the one.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys will find that eventually too.
No, we've accepted that we don't have to get into it. But
and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I take baths, just bubble baths.
Yeah, but you fall asleep in the bath.
Yeah,
and
don't
then
do that
it's-
too often. You're literally gonna drown.
And you're in the dark.
No, I woke up. That's how I found out I fell asleep.
Yeah, you woke up almost drowning?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you can't be doing that.
Oh, now I'm starting to feel like it's
You should
all
get one of
on
those
purpose.
old people tubs. I want to get an old person tub where you actually sit. It's like it's like literally probably this high, and you sit in it, and it fills all the way up, and you just get to sit in this little. Doesn't that sound
that's
amazing?
cool.
And
Yeah.
you don't have to. It's for older people, and because they can't get in and out of a tub. So, dude,
They have the little doors on them.
they have a fucking full size door. You pop in, you sit down, fills up to your shoulders. Like,
Your
come,
shoulders.
yes.
I've
Come
only seen the
on.
ones that fill up
Fully
to the
submerged.
waist, but that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, I want to get one
Yeah.
of those installed. If I ever get that shmoney, you know for sure
First
I'm
thing on the
taking
list
those.
is a bathtub.
Oh, I swear to
standing
God,
up bathtub.
I see commercials and I'm like, one day, bitch, one day you'll get there.
We're dreams.
Sorry.
So realistic. I love
Oh, I wish. Anyway,
it. Shoot for the moon, aim for the bath, Land in the bath.
Yes, Kaiman is looking for the one.
The change, though, is that, like, in the anime, he says, you are, and then gets dragged, she gets pulled out. In the manga, at least the way I read it, the person inside of Kaiman looks at her and says, you, ... But he says it and his eyes are, like, bigger. His eyes look bigger. Whereas in the anime, it felt like he was just saying what he normally said again and then got cut off.
yeah.
But this, in the manga, it felt like he was like, you. And I don't know if that's purposeful or like it's misleading on purpose. But
Is that the one? Because usually it's him, like coming out of Kaiman's like throat.
Yeah.
But there was one where it's like him in like a lab, standing full body.
No, I mean that was the dream sequence that Kaiman had.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Then
yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
Which I liked too, because you really thought like sometimes in manga it doesn't, like even in anime too, it's just like, oh, is this really happening? And you're like, nah, it's a dream.
Yeah. So I don't know why they did that either. I mean, I'm sure that's answered later, because the manga is completed. But that was a moment where I was like, that's an interesting little change that I don't think that they were aware of how much weight that, and it could have been even, lost from being, translated, or there's so many ways it could have gotten changed, but I just thought that was interesting.
I think that because she is kind of like, I mean, you go through like a little journey with her because she like loses her memory and she's all fucked up and you don't really know what the case is going to be, so you're like, oh, it's just to build suspense, because what if she was the one, she got cut off and now she can't even speak and she can't even do anything, so like what if Ebisu's the one that did this? But then I think that's like the reason why I don't know. I don't know, it might go into it more. I don't know, but I think it was just for that, to have her like little story feel like more weight to it.
I think one thing the anime did better was when she gets her face bitten off by Kaiman, because when your guy
Fujita,
he like opens the door to like grab her out of Kaiman's mouth, and the anime drags that on for longer to make it much more disgusting,
gruesome. Yeah, and the manga just kind of happens and you're like, oh, but in the anime it like she just getting chomped by Kaiman and you just see him put the weight of his teeth on her skull and she's just like, ah!
Yeah. And like the hanging over skin, because like you can see like the silhouette of her bloody face, and it cuts straight to her face hanging off of Kaiman's teeth.
Yeah, in the anime
and
it
all.
was eyelashes and all. It was way more gruesome. The way his mouth like bent, and it just looked like his teeth were getting more sunk into her face.
Yeah, it was
just
full
like
brain damage right there.
Which I have to say, and again, I think it's just the way that one of the things that the anime nails is the
that's a good point. I didn't.
What?
His teeth dig into her skull.
Yeah,
don't they?
usually they just go on the face of the sorcerer, and then their head is like kind of in there, and he wants them still alive so he can ask them the question. But when she was getting pulled, like she could have easily just died, like right there and then. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't ask my question."
Yeah, she has either brain damage or she's just like in shock.
She's acting way like goofier after that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like we saw how she behaved. Like it was just a little bit, but she was pretty like, I haven't seen any of my allies. What's going on? Who is this? And then after that, she's a lot. So it's like I didn't realize.
I think that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
you got bitten in the skull by an alligator.
Yeah, and then I like remember who I used to be, and now I'm just this way. So I really relate to Ebisu a lot.
I like this Megan. I don't know the before Megan, but
okay.
I like this Megan.
That's good.
But I mean, it was so gruesome, so gory, and I think what works is the direction, right? Because you go back to like, when we were doing the Berserk episode, I looked into I watched the first episode of the CGI version of that, and just like the way that the shots are composed, I mean, the composition of it all just looks really fucking weird. But in Dorohedoro, it's so dynamic. Like everything is, the cameras, it just looks.
Yeah.
The action is portrayed so much better.
The shots are really well done. Like the part where I should have written it down people's names. Heartman.
Oh, Shin.
Yeah, Shin. Like he, and he was just like, oh, like I shouldn't have killed you. And then like he just grabs like the camera, and then the camera goes up, and then it goes to dark. And I'm just like, these are the shots that really made me like the anime so much more. Like, of course, like the characters look great, and it's like CGI really well done. I mean, first episode I watched, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, and it just felt like, okay, this is what it is. Like it was, because those shots are so awesome. Like super well directed. Yeah.
And speaking of which, I think it's around this time too. Obviously Fujita and Ebisu get away. Mm-hmm. And Kaiman's back at the hospital, and he sees a trash bag. He's asked to take out the trash, and there's a sorcerer that's in that trash bag that's still alive. And we find out sort of who is responsible for that later. Mm-hmm. And that's when we meet Shin and Noe, who at first are just they have this like moment, this like almost like Pulp Fiction moment in the car where it's just the two of them talking about trash bags. And then she goes, it did feel like sort of a Tarantino moment where it's like, you got those bags, the discount bags, and she's like, these bags are great, they're gonna be fine, it's the same thing, it's just that like these two killers having this like very small discussion about trash bags. But then they're shown to be these incredibly violent, efficient, strong killers.
Yeah. And at first, you didn't really like in like the anime, you're like, is that a woman?
Well, you just assume. I think on purposely, you assume it's a man.
I assumed it was a man.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, speaking of muscle mommies,
yes,
the ultimate muscle mommy.
The ultimate muscle
and she's
mommy.
So cute. Her personality is so sweet, and she's just a badass. She's just like a cute little.
I mean, she's a cute
character.
Big character.
No, she's a cute big character, which I love.
What I liked about them is like they are sorcerers, but they mention that like up against it.
Sorry, babe.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm not.
Sounded,
I can do it
we're not
again.
gonna say what it sounded like, but it sounded like a fart.
Yeah.
You want to do it again?
Okay, Megan's
For the
farting.
fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they say, like against like like in that world, there's still people that don't have magic. So, like they don't cheat and use magic against them. So, and it's also sort of a thing of like, well, if Kaiman's whole thing is like, well, he knows how to fight because sorcerers don't know how to fight.
They're fucked.
Like, oh no, that's not a good sign. But it's also like, okay, these aren't like I love killing, and especially the guy says like Shin is like this is like basically like you didn't have to like forced us to have to kill you. You could have just backed down.
His heart can't take it. His heart literally can't take killing people.
Yeah, and what I like too. See, I read that as like he was getting excited, but
I took it as more
maybe
he's having pain. I guess I don't know, heartburn.
Clearly,
heartburn.
He's got some stuff with heart going on.
Yeah,
but it was like the opposite of a video game thing where it's like you kill all of the minions, and at the end you get to the boss and they go, no, if I kill you, I'll be just as evil. So you gotta go, the person who caused all this.
Yeah,
I'll just kill all the people who work for you. They were like, I'm just here for the boss. You're in my just please,
you're in my way.
Why are you making me do this? Essentially.
Yeah, he says like you didn't have to die today. You weren't supposed to die today.
Specifically, you weren't supposed to. Like that's such a nice depth to give an assassin.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't want to kill I don't want to just kill people. Mm-hmm. I'm here to kill this guy.
And what I like about him too is that he doesn't use. He's different from the other sorcerers because he specifically states, and we do find out in the anime later why, but he does specifically state in Volume 1 that he doesn't use magic on civilians. Like he doesn't use magic on people in the hole if he doesn't have to. If he can just beat you up with a hammer, he'll just beat you up with a hammer. And his reasoning for that is because it just doesn't feel right, using his power on the weak. And so that sets him apart immediately from not only the other sorcerers, but just in general from it shows you that he's just not a killer, that he does have some sort of moral code. Yeah,
again, it's like the whole Attack on Titan kind of debate. It's like these people have this thinking of this group of people, but they're not all the same type of people, and we're all just people, man.
Yeah, dude. And some people use a hammer, and some people
live in a hole.
Yeah. Oh, and some people live in a hole. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what
some people use words to hurt.
Oh. Was that directed to someone?
No one in particular.
Okay, cool. That's what like the writing character wise, this story is very full.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting so much, and it's still just the first volume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I like too about
and then they do get to the boss guy, and they're like, oh, but for you, we will use magic on you.
Oh yeah. And you find out later that his magic is basically he's basically able to dismember people but keep all their body parts alive.
Mm-hmm.
He has body magic,
which
has come up a lot.
Are you saying that I have some sort of body magic? Is that a compliment?
Really?
Oh.
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying maybe I have some sort of body magic because
you can expand. Like,
Okay, all right. Thank you guys for watching and listening.
He can fluctuate.
Okay, moving right along. After these characters are established, and we're seeing, we see Kaiman have that interaction with the trash bag. They're immediately taken to a dinner. Well, actually, we have this moment with Fujita and Ebisu where, again, it turns into slapstick at a certain point. They go to this place where Ebisu is supposed to have a dress ready for her for this dinner that they're going to.
She had planned it, and it was probably going to look really, cute and very classy. But instead, Fujita's like, I don't know how to put this on you. And he's like zipping it up. He's like, okay, is it this way? Oh no, your butt's gonna hang out if I do that. And I just love how it was so just like not like necessarily sexualized. It was just like a little, like someone dressing a little kid who has no idea what to do. It was just like, okay, this way.
Also, Fujita, just let her butt hang out, okay? Like, why did you end up with the titty hanging out? And you were like,
you thought that was the best move.
Yeah.
But it's so like innocent. Like it's just like this is what it is. And she's just like,
and then even when they go to the dinner and Noe sees her, she's like, her titty's hanging out.
She's like, no one's gonna mention that her titty's hanging out.
Because I was kind of like, I mean, maybe they do dress like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So until the person goes like, why is she dressed like that? I'm like, okay, so that's still
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it's still like they're just like debate. It's like a constant struggle of like what's right in this world and what's like wrong. Like why wouldn't that be expected? Like why is that such a crazy thing? But I guess it is.
Especially because a lot of these masks look like freaking S&M dominatrix masks half the time anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to this dinner, and that's where, and I don't even think, I think it was a lot more clear in the anime than it was in the manga, but it's at this point too when we see Noe and we see Shin and we see Fujita and we see Ebisu at this dinner. They're waiting to meet En at this restaurant. And it wasn't really, I don't think, until this point in the manga, at least, when I realized or remembered that Shin wears his mask backwards.
Yeah.
Which seems like, and again, if you've seen the first season of the anime, I think they allude to more of the reason why. But, it seems like that's a small act of defiance, a little bit. Because Noe makes a remark like, En's going to be pretty upset if he catches you wearing your mask backwards again. And he's like, oh, you're right. And he turns it around. It just seems like a little middle finger to either the sorcerers as a society or to En specifically.
Well, that's how he feels like too with the humans and stuff. Like probably En's like, why do you not use your magic on people? It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like frowned upon. So he's kind of like a black sheep of the sorcerer world.
Yeah, but he's got a good heart.
He's got. He wears his heart on his face.
Head. His heart on his head.
Wearing your heart on your face makes more sense than saying I wore my heart on my sleeve.
Right?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, eyes up here, my heart's up here. And speaking of having hearts up here and stop looking down there, that's when Noe takes her jumpsuit off.
She's like, yeah, I can dress up nice too.
And she's got some things down there.
And she.
I'm sorry, I had to finish.
She definitely has like, I don't know. I again, it's like, I don't know if this is like I don't know if it's like a respect thing or like, because her and Shin kind of have like a relationship where she like wants to impress him. I don't think it's like, romanticized. I don't know if you guys got that vibe. Or if it's just like a partnership.
Yeah, it does seem like two goons that are like friends.
Yeah. And it's right at this point, too, that we realize that Noe is a girl as well. And she's related to En. And, she is his cousin. And then this whole, we get the story kind of stops and we get to have this dinner with these characters. And they get to, I love that it just breathes and it lets you know their relationship to each other, their relationship to En, their relationship, in where they stand in the world. And, it's very clear that these are, Shin and Noe are En's right-hand men or sorcerers. And he
henchmen?
basically, henchmen. And he basically tasks them with finding Kaiman and Nikaido. And it's also at this point, too, where these like shapeshifters try to attack En. And, kill En, which lets you know that for two reasons we're let in early on that a lot of people want En dead. Number one, the sorcerer from the hole, who later is dismembered, his head and spine are like dangling from the ceiling, and En's trying to get information out of him. He just laughs and said, "Everybody wants you dead." And then later, the second time, we get these two shapeshifters who are posing as the original shapeshifters that are trying to kill En too. So it's very clear too that there are a lot of people in this world that don't. En's supposed to be this like powerful guy, but there are a lot of people that don't either like his leadership or are, it's like another,
it's the Godfather,
trying to take another boss out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like it's at this point too that they're all tasked with finding them. And while that's happening, and by the way has no trouble taking these people out, turns them to mushrooms immediately. And it's while this is happening that Kaiman and Nikaido are on their own mission to find this like needle sorcerer who can, use his magic to change people's faces, and he's hiding in the hole too. And he's living in the hole at this point, I think. And
he's hiding. He's got a little hidey hole.
Yeah, he's tucked up in the hole. He's just
hidey hole is a phrase.
Tucked up in the hole is a phrase. And they go to a shitty area to find this guy. This is a chapter I don't think that's like, it's towards the end and it seems a little like really not that important.
Mm-hmm.
They find him. He tries to use his magic on Kaiman. It doesn't work. Kaiman just ends up shedding.
Yeah, I like that.
It was very funny. And I think that's sort of where volume 1 ends. And then we get a little bonus story after that with how masks are made and significance of them. Because there's also, and we haven't been introduced to it in volume 1 yet, but having seen the anime, there are like devils in this world too that are actually from hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Tokyo Ghoul a little bit. You never seen it, but like their masks are like customized because they have to hide their identity when they like fight or like eat or whatever. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Not necessarily, I don't know what came first, but it's not like you're copying because it's just such a complex thing. So
and I thought that chapter, by the way, was a lot of fun too. It's exclusive to the manga. It's not in the anime. You can't really find it anywhere else. It's just a fun story with Fujita, and it's just all it shows is like Fujita and the level that he's at, trying to do this mask ceremony, and then Shin and Noe doing the same ceremony but in their position of power, and it's just showing how shitty his situation is. He's getting shit dumped on his head, and he's getting like a box clamped over him so he can't see anything, and they're just being like handed on silver platters these ingredients for their cauldrons, and it's this like very beautiful ceremony while Fujita's getting the shit beat out of him on the other side of things.
Yeah, and at the end, it's like, you don't get a mask. Where it's sort of just like, maybe take the hint at what they do to you when you're on this level, that like, you're not gonna get the mask, man. The whole thing is just because it is like, I think he gave him a pretty good gift. I don't think it was even the gift issue. They're just like, they say like, at your level it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They basically said we were never gonna give you a mask. And that's pretty much where it ends. I have the physical copy here just to make sure, which, by the way, I mean, I love, it's got the flaps. I'm a sucker for these flaps in here.
This makes it easier to read too.
Yeah, it's such a cool story. I think the manga for me overall, like you said, Megan, the tone was just different. Again, it's pretty beat for beat, but there's just a vibe. There's just a feeling that you're not getting from the anime that you're getting from the manga. So I guess I want to know, like, having seen the anime, having read volume 1 of the manga, I think, Megan, you're saying you prefer the anime, right?
Well, let me see what my actual thoughts. Like I said, it's such a huge contrast between the two. I really can't compare them, even though they are the exact same story. What we've seen and what I've read, I mean, I've only read volume 1 now of the manga. I haven't read up to chapter 40, so I don't know if they continue that route in the anime. I don't know if things are changed, because I'm not going to quote that it's like a perfect adaptation, because it's not. But I do like the anime. I think it just like the silliness of the world really is captured, and I mean, I don't know if that was the exact intention in the manga, but I mean, I can't compare the two so much because it's so different. But I like both of them, but I think I do prefer the anime. I know, please don't come for me. it's just my type of story. I like silly things, and
Yeah.
I think this character alone just made me like, okay, yeah, I
And
fucking
she's so
love this.
cute,
I
dude. She has
love
so many cute
Ebisu.
moments.
She's so funny, and when she like finally gets her, I guess I don't know if it's a spoiler.
It probably is.
Yeah, but it's fine. But yeah, it's just like, this is so silly. It's such
Spoiler,
a silly.
she finally gets something.
She gets something.
Watch
but,
out for that.
Like, even in the dinner scene, like, I just found it so much more entertaining watching all these crazy things happen in this waiter guy explaining all the things in this silly voice, and it just feels more giddy and not necessarily, like I said, meaning that it was a faithful adaptation, because that's super gritty and dark, and it's just your preference, I guess.
And
same story,
and
different
the manga
vibe.
is funny too, dude. There's a part where at that dinner too, Fujita's running around trying to capture Ebisu because she's just like loopy and out of it, and he's just like, and her tits popping out, and he's just like sweating, trying to catch her.
Because that's his partner. He's trying to not look bad, and he's just like, why does this keep happening to me where I keep fucking up?
And so, like, I don't want people to misunderstand what you're saying. The anime is, I think, funnier, but there is a lot of really funny moments in the manga.
Yeah, it's just
as well.
done. It just feels different.
Yeah, it does.
It totally feels different, which is,
it does.
Crazy. Usually,
It's just interesting because, like you said,
yeah,
for being that close to the source material, that little change, you do notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cody, how do you feel about it?
I liked the drawings, the sketching style more in the manga. I also like where we got some colored panels where it looked like it was like drawn with crayon.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I didn't think the anime was a bad adaptation. It was just a little like not as fluid as I would have liked some of the fights, but the fights are still great.
Yeah.
Although the first volume doesn't really end on a
Yep.
on a here we go.
Gotta keep reading. Yeah.
I am like I'm interested in it. And I want to like keep going in the story, but it's more of a mild like that was good. I like these characters. I want to see where they go. I'd be fine waiting for the anime.
Yeah.
Just because it didn't really get me on a.
Yeah.
But then that.
Yeah.
There was it sort of ends on a note of like so like next chapter we'll keep doing this.
Yeah. And knowing what I know from the anime, they do answer some questions in the first season, and they there are other characters and other things that we are introduced to, but even the anime, like as much as it's so strange, because as much as I really enjoyed both of them, even the anime does kind of end on like a
Okay.
I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay,
That's very
all right.
odd.
Yeah, like it's
a very
good.
odd feeling.
It's good, but I think like you guys said, it's not like I wasn't like dying. It wasn't like left on this like huge cliffhanger where I was dying to know what happened next. But you better believe that when season 2 comes out, I'm watching it. And I would consider reading more of the manga as well for the art style alone, just because it seems like it just adds and fits that world so much better. Even though, like I said, the anime is great.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts you guys have on the volume 1 of Dorohedoro and just the story?
Why is it called Dorohedoro?
That's a great question, Cody. It's actually called Dorohedoro. I don't know, because someone look it up quick. I did think it was cool though, because like there's a moment where Shin is like torturing somebody in the anime, and there's a record playing on a record machine, and when you look at the record, when the camera zooms in on it, the record is titled Dorohedoro, and it's by Mappa on the record, which I thought was pretty cool, and it made me think for a second, like, is Dorohedoro a song? Because sometimes people name things after songs.
This is a good point.
Thanks, Cody.
Good one.
So I mean, that's pretty much it. I think this is again. It's so weird when a series, when we really enjoy a series, but where it doesn't necessarily like grab us to the point where we like either have to keep reading it, or has an ending where we can just kind of like take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Like this is something that I think we all really liked, but I don't think we have like I don't know, like we all really liked it, but I don't think we have this like urgency to find out what happens. So
it's not like there's been mangas where I'm like, well, I have to read the next.
Yeah.
I have to read the next volume. That happens like actually kind of a lot. This I didn't even feel any like that urge of like, all right, next chapter, let's go. It was like, oh, okay, first volume's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check out the second one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not negative. It's just not a positive.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And I will say that if you haven't read or watched Dorohedoro yet, you can probably do either and get a good representation of the story either way. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. I do love the world. I love this sort of fictional culture that they're building, that the mangaka that she's built. The character designs, the heart of the characters, the side characters. I think it all works really well. It's also super, especially for a manga and a manga art style. It's very unique, and it's just something I can say that I've never seen before or have a hard time really comparing to anything else. It's just like so specifically that.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend reading the manga or watching the anime. And then I think if you can watch the first couple episodes or read the first volume, and again, I know that there are questions that get answered and mysteries that get solved. And as a whole, like I've looked up sort of how people received the overall ending of the series, and I think people for the most part, like I'd say like we're mostly happy with the way it was tied up, but there was still a lot of people who, weren't thrilled with how everything was tied up. I have some people saying that the ending kind of dragged a little bit, but some people liking that because you got to spend more time with all these characters and they all got closure. But yeah, I think if by the end of season 1 or by the end of the first volume, if it's not grabbing you, then maybe it's just not maybe it's just not a story for you, because I know that the art style, as much as I enjoy it, could be off-putting for some people.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good story, and I think it's a really well-done anime as well. And so I highly recommend at least giving it a read or a watch and checking it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for our Volume 1 Dorohedoro episode. But we're not done yet. We have one more thing to do, and that's to get to our lovely segment, the Wonder Circle, where we read comments that have been posted on some of our previous videos. We task Volume 1-chan with combing through all those comments and picking out a few to read for us. So, Volume 1-chan, why don't you read us a couple comments, please?
This one comes from Noah Sharp. Many will never hear Josh's pure hatred for Goblin Slayer and
Absolutely.
Cody talking to him into liking it for 4 hours. Those podcast episodes were pretty fire. You were looking for the term visual novel, by the way.
Right.
P.S. Volume done for Goblin Slayer. P.P.S. Volume 1 for Clannad. I might actually watch it if you were to do a review on it.
Yes,
Yeah,
Noah.
we all agree with everything that he was saying.
Everything he was saying.
All I
Yeah.
heard was Volume 1 on Clannad. And I've never read the manga for Clannad, so I don't know if it is. I might. I don't know.
If it does, I'm
If it
sure it was
doesn't-
based on the anime, maybe.
If
But
it doesn't have a manga, we could just do the first season.
yeah, we'll watch it. And you just made Megan's
Volume
day.
Clannad.
Volume Clannad.
Don't like it, but I love Clannad. Yes. Oh my God, that would make me so happy. I've been trying. He's had his day. He's had his day in the
had
fucking
his
sun.
day in the sun.
I want to have my day in the sun.
He's sunburned.
And I want them to cry.
Yeah.
I want them to cry. That's
I would
my
love
goal.
to cry too. I would
You
absolutely
need
love
to
cry.
cry.
Yeah, I would love to cry. I would absolutely love to cry.
I know. You should. It's healthy.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's listened to all the audio episodes too, first of all, I apologize, dude, because you had to sit through so much Goblin Slayer. But if you're
Let's that YouTube video was my final, like, if this doesn't get views, I don't get to bring it up anymore. But I'm gonna give it a break.
You see, it didn't.
But
I mean,
we
we could
got
talk about that off
requests.
camera. We did,
We got a
because
few,
you made
dude.
a point to. I think they're doing it to spite me and Josh.
Interact with our fans,
No,
our lovely, beautiful
Oh,
audience.
of course, I love you guys, but they're trying to spite me and Josh for sure.
I think
because
so.
because we were like, don't say it, don't do it, and then they're just like,
They're like-
do it,
they're like,
yeah, do
Yeah.
it, do it.
You
So
do the anime. Who knows when it comes out?
Yeah,
It'll be
actually,
hype.
Volume 1-chan, can you pull up the comment that I requested you to
I
pull
don't
up?
see why there's a point
please?
bringing up.
oh shit.
This one comes from Moses Elias.
No.
Can I say volume don't? I've already consumed too much Goblin Slayer from listening to all the episodes of Volume 1. But still, love goes out to Cody.
Thank you for that, Volume 1. Thank you for pulling that up for me.
Thank you, Moses.
Thank you, Moses.
Moses
Yes.
parting the Red Sea.
I would
Yes.
love to live in a world where all of those were up on YouTube, but like they just aren't.
Yeah, I know, dude.
That's the negative, because as lovely as it is that Moses listened to it back in those days, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, and look, I got to be honest with you, Cody.
First volume don't is powerful.
It really was, and
dope.
you know me, I love my volume don'ts, dones.
Yeah.
I love those fucking things. So you really knocked it out of the park with that one.
Let's just say we're stealing Volume. Don't.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're gonna obviously get a little credit for that.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But
sure.
I mean, it's great, dude. I love it. Volume. I mean, we're gonna be.
we
have a long list of Volume don'ts.
I laughed so
Bleach.
hard.
No.
So hard.
Bleach is on a volume number 1. Not just one.
Burn the Witch.
I thought Burn the Witch was good.
Wait, can we call volume don't, or can we use that for some stuff like volume, like Samurai 8 and Act Age? Can we use that for stuff that we all just hated?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
like volume don't read.
Yeah. So I think because
not Goblin's Way.
Right. Because the writer of Act Age was canceled. I think for sure Act Age is a volume don't.
Yeah. What a shame.
Yeah.
How about volume Act Your Age?
Wow, you got him, dude. Sick burn.
Take that.
Yeah, a little late, but you got him.
Yeah. If I was there, would have stopped that.
Same.
Same. With my words.
That hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I got to be honest. We were 50-50, dude. So I appreciate you giving it a rest. We'll see if a couple more comments suggesting that we do it come in. But it was a little down the middle.
We got a fair number.
It was 50-50. All right, Volume 1 Shine. Give us one more comment, please.
This one comes from Maria Elena. The way Cody talks about relating to Goblin Slayer reminds me a lot of being neurodivergent. It feels weird to relate when things like socialize come naturally, but as someone who is neurodivergent, it makes total sense. It's like you have to manually learn how to do certain things that feel unnatural to you, like putting on a face for others' comfort.
Do you do that, Cody?
Yeah, I didn't know how to address that in not a weird way, just over text. Yeah, I feel like it would have felt too sad, in comments. Also, at first, I thought they were saying when things like socializing comes naturally to me, and I was like, okay.
No, she's actually reaching out a hand. I totally understand where you're coming from, and just Cody being like, why is she bragging about something?
It's because she's neurodivergent.
And there you go. That's how it is all the time. It is. I have learned behaviors, and I have things that I just I have a social meter that gets drained, and I'll still be like, I have a lot of things in life where I'm just like, this is what you do, this is what you're supposed to do. You get home and you'll be alone. You just deal with this for another 4 hours, and then you can just go to bed.
Do you think? Have you ever looked into neurodivergent behavior? I
know a couple of people that work with the category of neurodivergent you would assume I'm in, and I remember there was a circle and a couple of people that work in that field. They went Cody, you probably have that, and they all just nodded. And no one laughed. It wasn't a joke. They were just yeah. And I was like, oh,
at least they're professionals.
Professional diagnosis.
Yeah.
I have looked at, growing up, I begged my parents constantly to take me in to see a therapist. At least at the youngest, I can distinctly remember around middle school, I was just there is something wrong with me. I need to talk to someone. And they're like, no. And now I am just it's too late. I already formed all my mental habits.
It's never too late to go to therapy.
I don't know what getting a label put on it will do. And also, someone told me that it can cost $3,000 to get a test, and I'm like,
to fix,
what's there to fix?
Nothing. Cody's perfect.
Yeah. I wouldn't say perfect.
No.
But
that's the thing is,
right.
If it is what I think and what a couple of people have thought is, because there is something wrong with me, but it can't be fixed. All I can do is it'll be nice to be told oh no, yeah, you definitely should have gotten help when you were younger. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
well,
dude.
26.
You know what, dude? I'm gonna say it. I don't think there's anything wrong with you.
There's objectively odd things.
I think that anybody who thinks that there is something wrong with you, there's something wrong with them. All right?
Mhm.
And I'm here to defend you. For once, as your friend, I'm here to say it, dude. You're the type of person I prefer to be around.
Over what?
Over what people might consider normal. No, not you, Megan. Don't point to yourself. Megan, you know you're great.
I'm gonna just.
Oh my God. I really lost Megan on that one.
Just kidding.
If getting a test doesn't cost $3,000, let me know and I'll get that checked out.
Hey, buy Cody's test, guys.
Yeah, dude, you're just like my mom would say, dude, you're touched. And that's all that is.
Which
that's
is
all
that
means.
Yeah, that's how they would refer to neurodiversity back in the day. Was either you were touched by an angel or you got kicked in the head by a horse.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely the prior.
Ladder.
On the other hand,
Oh my God. Megan.
when I was a
Just kidding.
teenager, I would like every couple months I'd be like, can you please take me in to see a therapist? My dad's argument was like, they're just going to give you pills and it'll be better to like work those problems out on your own. And so it is like, yeah, I guess I could have gotten help and, I probably would have just become like an accountant or something. So
and look at you now, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad that you didn't.
if I had the choice between like a stable job and being normal, I would have, would I have chosen that one? Of course. But it's too late. And now...
Nah, dude, don't choose that. Choose this, dude.
Yeah,
Choose
that's a
us.
lame life. No, not saying anything about that. No, you could have a stable job and
Yeah, you can have a
good
stable
for
job
you.
and not be lame.
Yeah.
Cody can't.
But Cody
Jesus
can't.
Christ.
Yeah. You need to be here with us.
And I'm glad, dude. One thing I am glad and I do appreciate is that, we're getting one step closer to cracking that code. That code E, dude.
Wow.
We're getting one step closer to cracking that code E. And I appreciate everybody who's watched and who's listened and who's commented on all the videos. And if you want us or Volume 1 Chun to read one of your comments, then you can post a comment on one of our previous videos and we will possibly give it a read. Cody, you have your hand up?
Now, as
Cody,
far
you're
as
being neurodivergent right now?
in regards to relating to goblins, the thing that I like is he is not fixed, and people do not really try to like fix him. They more give him like general guidance, but outside of that, they learn his behaviors and they sort of like get used to it and they learn how to like interact with him beyond that. And there's not this big like I'm cured.
Right.
I'm now a normal. I do like how it's not even. We just got to give you a makeover. You got to do this, this, and this. It is sort of like, this is who he is. We can tell him like, hey, if you're going to talk to someone, maybe say this instead of this. And he'll be like, okay. I like how it's like Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh.
Right. Well, call me Priestess, dude, because I'm going to be right by your side. All right?
Holy shit.
And that's going to do it for another episode of Volume 1. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. And thank you so much to all of our Patreon members. We appreciate every single one of you guys. And if you're not a Patreon member and you're part of the algorithm gang, then we love and appreciate you too. And if you would like to become a Patreon member, you can sign up and become one by going to patreon.com/volume1pod. And even if you're someone who's just watching, subscribing, and liking, then we fucking love you too. We love everybody, no matter how you support. And I wish I could hug all of you.
Okay.
Daisuki, aishiteru.
What's Eisteru?
Aishiteru means I love you.
Okay.
And I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. There's only one thing left to do, and that's to get out of here in our outro that's always the same and never changes, which today is...
Dorohedoro, go read this manga.
All right, I like it.
Pulled it through at the end.
Yeah, I was a little
surprised.
worried.
I was like, oh no, Megan.
Yeah.
I did it.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, Algorithm Gang. And until next time,
Dorohedoro, go read this manga. I completely understand what happened.